Hello, good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Hope you're having a pleasant Wednesday. Few usual people rolling in. Good to see you. I have up the mad dashed result of Sunday's stream. I'll kind of get into what we're doing today in a second. But yeah, we managed to get lighting working. So there's a directional light and a point light. The point light can move. It has a specular component. And then we kind of, with the last 20 minutes of our time, mad dash hacked in a specular map. So you can see the boxes are kind of shiny on the metal bit, but not shiny on the wooden bit. Kind of adds a nice little bit of realism, I think. So today, what I want to do first of all, and I suspect to be a big chunk of time, is a bit of a rework of some of what we did on Sunday in terms of like a bit of a refactor, because we kind of hacked in multiple textures pretty quick, and we keep having to change, like when we change the vertex data, I have to keep writing Vim macros to add different attributes in, and there's a whole load of like stuff which I feel if we don't kind of fix now, we'll only kind of build a bit of tech debt we want to pay back, basically. I feel if we don't take the opportunity to do that now, it's only going to keep getting worse. There's a few hard-coded values in there. I'd like to not hard-code, or at least hard-code somewhere else, and then dependency inject them effectively or pass them in as a shader, so it feels like they're not hard-coded. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to kind of do today. But yeah, we've done it again. Apologies, pressed the wrong button. Yeah, we can move around, see some lights. So that's what we're going to start doing. So I guess you could think of today as maybe a bit more C++y, maybe a little bit less OpenGL-y, but I think we'll see how far we get, because then the next main features that we need to do are model loading, and I really want to get some sort of like, I want to get ImGui in there, get like a debug layer, so we can interact with the scene a little bit more, a little less through code, and a little bit more interaction. OpenGL, indeed. So where we left off with our render function is pretty simple. We set up all the camera stuff, and we write that into a buffer, and we set that in a UBO, and then we set the light stuff and we smash that into a UBO, and that's kind of okay. I'm not too fussed about that. I think that's reasonably good. And then it's basically this loop here is starting to get a little bit grim. So we get the uniform location of the model for every single entity every single time, every single tick, and it's not particularly efficient. It's a bit of gross code that we have to run every time. I kind of want to push this down a bit. Ideally, we should, when we create, well, I think setting the uniforms actually belongs to the material. I feel like that is the responsibility of that. So we should be able to do like material set uniform model and then give it some data. And then this should all be resolved when we create the material, link the shader in. We should be able to pull out all the uniforms, cache them in a map, and then just look them up and do it. So that should disappear. This here should disappear, because we should be able to ideally just give the material a range of textures and samplers, and it does all this horror internally, so we don't have to worry about it. And I think we should probably put this in a function as well, just so we're kind of bearing down the OpenGL code a little bit more. So my plan is to basically remove a lot of this, so it's just like material use, material set uniform, blah blah blah. That's a good place to start. Then after that, I want to look at, we need to fix the normals in the shader, because we don't currently support, like, the normals are fine at the moment, but if we have a non-uniform scale on one of the objects, not that we support scaling at the moment, then the normals will be wrong, so we should fix that before we forget. And then and then finally, what I want to do is I want to fix all this, because I don't like any of this, and really I want to pull all this hard-coded stuff out of Mesh into a Mesh loader, and then have Mesh just take this data in, and then that will be the groundwork for loading meshes, because then our Mesh loader can just eventually be given a resource, parse it, FPX file or whatever, produce these vertex data elements, and then we can just shove that into Mesh, and Mesh can own that. So yeah, that's kind of the plan for today. So let's have a look at, where are we with our material class. So I think this is going to want auto use const void, what was my first programming language and where did I go from there? My first programming language was PHP, and from there I went to anything that wasn't PHP. I think I played around with a load of languages, but I mainly did PHP until I went to university, and then I learnt C, Java, and Haskell in my first year, and then a little bit C++, and then after that I got a job as a C++ dev, so I guess C++ after that. Although the material contains the shader, shouldn't the model transform belong to the mesh? There is some dependency there as well. A mesh can have multiple materials. Yeah, so I'm not saying unless I misspoke, I'm not saying the material will own the mesh, own the model transform. What I'm saying is it will provide the mechanism through which it is set as a uniform. So this will have something like auto set uniform std string view name const matrix for data, and then we can just call that. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. I guess I'll write that now. It doesn't really matter if we haven't implemented it yet, because we'll eventually get a link error anyway. Let's do material, and then we're going to go. Let's do the use function first. So actually I prefer, just thinking about it, I think native handle should be last like that, because it's kind of the least interesting one. Not that it particularly matters. Okay, so 33 go z. Okay, so we're going to have auto material use const void like that, and then let's open up our renderer, and what's the runes that we need for that? That is just GL use program, right? So that can be we can just take that over here, put that in here. Ooh, steady. Put that in here. That will become handle like that. I think that's all we need, and then we should be able to just go back over here. We're back to where we were, and then just do material use. I'm going to try and do this somewhat incrementally rather than making too many changes and not be able to get anything to work. Shouldn't there be a get handle function? I mean, that's the native handle gets the handle. Okay, this still works. This still works. We haven't broken anything so far, which is a good start. Okay, excuse me. Now we can start looking at the what I started writing out a second ago, which is the set uniform. I think this is probably, well, actually before that we want to get a list of all the uniforms first, which I believe you can query. I believe there's some OpenGL magic, which means we're going to have to pull in some more functions. But after we've linked the program, I believe we can query it. So we should be able to say, let's bring in some stuff. Let's bring in some stuff. Let's bring in log. Okay, our favorite log function, which almost always works. And let's go gl int uniform count. Okay, and then we can go OpenGL, our list of Welsh town names, which I find funny every time. Pfn gl get program iv, or oh, do we already have? Oh, we already have that. Never mind. I take it all back. So then we can go gl get program iv, and that will be our handle, the gl active uniforms, and then into the uniform count variable. Okay, and then we're just going to do like log info new material uniforms, and we'll do uniform count. So we're just going to build that and just check that actually outputs something useful. Okay, so do we see that log anywhere? New material with 11 uniforms. 11 seems higher than I was expecting, but we'll print out that. Whoop. Have I really got that many uniforms? I guess I don't actually. I guess the question. I thought I'd have one here, unless each of these counts as a separate uniform. Yeah, 11 seems off. Well, we'll dump them and we'll get the names of them and see what goes on. Ah, interesting. 4x4 matrices count as 4 uniforms. Okay, that's going to be a massive pain. Then how do you set them? How do I get the location of one then? Because I still want... We'll dump the names and we'll see what happens. It might be that some of them are like internal names or something. We don't get a bind point for them. Yeah, this is near Vim on WSL. It works pretty great for pretty much everything I want to do. A lot of clicking. I don't understand how people move around on the screen without using a mouse. You don't see it, but like I have key presses enabled on this. So I still do occasionally use a mouse. So I'm not the most efficient on near Vim. I am trying to get better at it. Interesting. Okay, well we're gonna see what we get. I think the best way to do this is we can only see what we get. So if uniform count doesn't equal 0, okay, there's no point doing any of this if the thing doesn't have any uniforms. GL int max name length, and then GL get program IV handle, and then GL active uniform max length, and then the max name length. So that should get us the max name. So I'm just going to do log debug max length. Handle, there you go. Yeah, thank you. I spotted it. Yeah, so if we get the location via GL functions, so it gives the correct handle. So it's just, I think we'll just see what happens. I've not done this before. I normally do it lazily, or when I have done it before, I've done it lazily. So the first time you call it, you cache it. But I thought it'd be fun to try something a bit different. Like if we can get all the data ahead of time, then why not? It also means on the first frame, if we can, if we want to, choose to throw an exception if we try and set a uniform that doesn't exist. I guess rather than waiting for the second frame. So max length 17. Okay. Now, yeah, I'm trying to avoid too much magic numbers, just as just doing this by myself. Like the easier I can make my future life, the better. I don't know how many lines of code we've done on this. It can't be that many, like low number of thousands. I don't know if anyone knows a good command line tool for finding lines of code. I guess I could just find and pipe to wc-l. But then I don't want to go through the build directory. It'd be low. It'd be low number of thousands. Really, it's really not a lot of code. Okay, so now I need to OpenGL. Now, steady, stay on target. Let's do GL get active uniform. Get active just to make sure uniform. Apparently I've redefined shader IV. Is that really true? Oh, I have. Not sure how that happened. Right, okay. Okay, right. So now what we can do in here is we're going to need a GL size length, a GL size count and a GL enum type. So I believe the way this function works is it'll actually tell you the type of them as well. So we could store that type and do more additional checks. So when we see like, hey, set this uniform, check it's actually the right type. I'm pretty sure the debug layer will tell us if that's wrong, or at least it'll be pretty obvious. I think when it's not. So I might not do all that typing today because I think there's a lot of extra machinery for probably minimal gain at this point. Yeah, I'm a big fan of dependency injection. We'll use it to where it makes sense. We don't have a lot of interfaces at the moment, but that doesn't mean we won't. So yeah. Although I kind of use the term a little bit nebulously to, anytime I pass anything into a constructor that I don't create internally, I kind of sort of informally refer to as dependency injection. So let's do GL get, so for auto I equals 0, I is less than uniform count plus I, and then we'll do GL get active uniform, and then this is going to take all the things. It's going to take the I, the index, it's going to take the max name length, it's going to take a pointer to the length, sorry, a pointer to the count, so this is going to write all these bits of data out for us, a pointer to the type, and then I believe the last is going to be somewhere to stick the data, so let's do stud string name, and we'll initialize that with the max name length. And then we should be able to do name.data here. And then name.resize length. And then let's just do log debug found uniform name. I don't know, does that sound reasonable? Yes, got not partner, I got affiliate on Twitch, not partner. I need to average like 75 viewers per stream for like 2 months, which is a little bit more than we get at the moment, which is kind of strange because I easily get more than that on YouTube and Twitch combined, but just not, ugh. Excuse me while I fix this horror. What have I done? $9.50. Oh, is it? Is it that? Yeah, it's the other way around. Vector takes... No, is it the other way around? No, I can't remember what the default constructor is for stud string, but it kind of gets confused if you just pass in a size. I suppose I could look that up. I'm curious now. Stud string, basic string, constructor. What was it matching there? It was trying to match. Should have matched count. Oh, but you have to specify the. Oh, so actually that's the wrong way around then. Isn't it the other way around to the way Vector takes it? I do like the implicit casting between. I do need to include string. That's a good point. I do like the implicit casting between the integral types, though. That's really handy. We're going to need that anyway. Okay, fine. Found uniform, ambient, direction, color, IMO. Oh, so it's taking all these as... it's taking all these as separate uniform bind points. Even the ones in the UBO, which I think is interesting. I was not expecting that. But hey ho. There we go. We got them all. I guess does that mean does that mean you can set a UBO data through the standard uniform setting functions? That seems strange to me. But what do I know? Okay, so we've got those, so now we need to stick those. So this is going to be the slightly interesting thing here, because basically let's take a step back. What's the API we want? The API we want is going to be string. I'm using Fira code font with the ligatures, so I get the like the arrow combined character and the equals combined and stuff like that. Okay, so this is the interface we want, right? So what I'd say you would probably normally do is include unordered map, right? And you'd probably be like, oh, okay, stood unordered map stood string to GL uint, right? And this would be the uniforms, right? Now, there's a slight... Well, I guess first of all, like, some people have issues with unordered map because the way it's specified in the spec, it is not necessarily the most efficient way, and you know, you might have some take umbrage to the default hash function or whatever, blah 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 blah. I personally think unless you are on the critical path, or you kind of have some sort of guilty knowledge, I think stood unordered map is a good starting place for a hash map in C++. There is an argument that boost unordered flat map is better in all the same situations as unordered map, and you should probably prefer that as a default. I haven't included boost. I have no plan on including boost. So, you know, I'm going to stick with what I've got out of the box. Now, there's one of the issues with stood unordered map is that, let me get this up. So I'll just swap these panes over, so we can get this. I told you this one's going to be a little more C++ focused today. Let's start writing this. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second there. We're going to probably want to do like uniforms.contains, right? So let's just start writing this, and hopefully the issue that I'm talking about will reify itself in a second, because it means we're going to have to write a little bit of boilerplate, but only once. So basically, like, I'm going to want to, if I got error here, ensure uniforms dot contains name, right? Missing missing uniform name, something like that, right? So we can't set a uniform if we don't have it. I mean, like, whether we end up doing it like this or try and pull the data out, blah blah blah, is kind of neither here nor there. Whether we want to strip this out and debug is neither here nor there. Effectively, we're going to want to at some point query. It's not beyond the realms of possibility to think we're going to want to query our unordered map, our hash table, for the name of a uniform, right? That's literally the interface that we've created. Now, the issue here is because we're using modern C++, we're going to use string view, because almost certainly at the call site we're going to pass in a C string, you know, like a string literal, and there's no point allocating a stood string just for that. Yes, I know there's a small buffer optimization, but ignoring that, oh, Christian Iverson, thank you for the sub, much appreciated. Like, I'm not premature optimizing things, but I'm just kind of thinking of the implications of the designs we make. So, you know, trying to avoid premature pessimization, I guess. Anyway, like, I want to use string view, and I want to query unordered map, which is keyed on a string. It kind of has to be keyed on a string because it needs to own that data. The way contains works, like under the hood, is it will basically construct a stood string around this for contains, which is not what we want, because we're going to be calling this every frame, possibly several times a frame. If the uniform is large enough, over like 12 characters, it will do a dynamic memory allocation, and it's all kind of pointless because the language knows how to compare. This might sound like a tangent, but I do have a point. The language knows how to compare a string view with a string without having to construct a string, right? So why can we not do that? And basically, you can do it, but it took till C++23 to be able to do it, or C++20, sorry. It's something called heterogeneous lookup, which is a mouthful and doesn't really make a lot of sense on itself. But hopefully, by the end of this, it will make sense to everyone. Let me just bring up some docs. I might actually use find because I think that makes my point a little bit clearer anyway. And then we'll assert that we found it. But let me just go find. So basically, if we want to find something on a key, kind of similar to contains, but it returns the iterator to the object. In C++11, when this was introduced, you can notice here that the key you have is typed on the key that you specify the unordered map with. So this will always be stood string. So this means, but because C++ is allowed to do one implicit conversion, it will implicitly convert your stood string view to a stood string at this point. In C++20, they added a templated overload, which means this can match to any type you pass to it. So what we want is we want to actually have the find or the contains or whatever match on the stood string view, and then that kind of percolates through all the internal gubbins until it actually gets to the point where it does the comparison, and at no point should it ever do this implicit cast. Because C++ standardization is incredibly complex, and I don't really get involved in that in any capacity. When they added that feature, they couldn't break backwards compatibility, so it meant that you kind of had to opt into this thing called heterogeneous lookup. And in order to opt in, we have to write a load of boilerplate, so that's what we're going to do now. I don't actually want this API. Maybe contains was not the best option. What I want to do is const auto uniforms.find name, right? Const auto uniform is that, and then ensure uniform doesn't equal stood ranges cend of uniform, and that's the missing uniform. The reason to do it like this is now I now have access to the iterator if it was set, so I can then query the data from it. Right, everyone's still with me? Have I lost anyone? I do apologise. It sounds like a bit of a tangent, but this is something that's worth kind of doing once, and we'll pay the price for it now, and then we'll get on with it. Yes, uniforms. I only want to write all this boilerplate once, so we're going to basically create our own hash table, but it's just going to be an alias around all this stuff that we need to do. So with that, let's create a new file. Let's call this string map, about as good as name as it gets. Oh, as an aside, someone was telling me that I needed to use HTTP files to make CMake and CLANGD kind of work together to pick up header-only code. I tried that and it did not work. So you must have a slightly different setup to me, but for my particular setup, the extension to the header file makes no difference. Let's include string, and include string view because I know I'm going to need it. Namespace game, and then in here we're going to do template class t using string map stood string t. Right, so this might look like we're kind of just reinventing the wheel. Sorry, stood unordered map, and then up here I should also include that. Right. Yeah, Yeah, this is it. So I think I think Harand is correct, and this was my observation: is that CMake only in the compile commands will only produce files for the translation units, of which a header file is not a translation unit. Yes, this is the new is transparent nonsense, and it is kind of nonsense, but it does make sense when you kind of look at it. So this feels like we're reinventing the wheel a little bit. It's basically saying, oh, string map, but it's always the key is always a string. But what we can do is we can provide our own hash function and our own key like is equal. And then through this and through some weird C++ magic, we can basically get the heterogeneous lookup, which means all of our stuff is slightly better, slightly more efficient. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So if we want to create our own hash function, where does hash live? Where does std hash live? That's a question I don't know. Utility. Apparently it's in it's in everything. It's in string and string view, so I don't. There is no include hash file. Struct string hash, and then we're going to go hash in. I know where size t lives. Let's see, std def, one of my favorites, an absolute classic. Std size t. Operators. These are just cool operators. Const char star const. Basically, I need to provide a hash method for all the overloads that I want to take and do the heterogeneous lookup for. I need to provide hash functions for. So we'll call that str and constd string str. Okay, and then these just basically all become return std hash std string view. You have to make sure all these return the same hash, regardless of which regardless of which version of these is called, for any string value. Like, it doesn't matter if you pass the same string in as a const char star, as a string view, as a string, they all have to return the same hash, which hopefully kind of makes sense. Because if they didn't, then the heterogeneous lookup wouldn't work, because you'd look up something as a string view and it wouldn't return you back the same thing. And then the magic that makes this work is basically using is transparent equals void. And I'll spell that correctly first. If anyone's interested in why you need this, I'll quickly go over it. Imagine you've got this that we discussed earlier. So ignore this. Prior to C++20, you only had this. So say I had const char star and I passed it into here. This language is allowed to do one implicit cast. So it would implicitly convert this to, in this example, a std string. So existing code would probably rely on the fact that you would get this implicit cast. Now, the problem is when you add this template overload, that would change existing code, because this is a better candidate because it doesn't involve an implicit cast. So it actually then matched this, which would then might have other complications on your code because you've effectively changed the meaning of it. So in order to make this work, it had to be opt in to the new system. And basically the way they said you opt in is you have to provide your own hash function. But you might have already provided your own hash function. So again, you don't want this to, you can't just opt in by providing your own hash function. You have to explicitly say, I'm providing my hash function and I want this new functionality, which is why you put this is transparent. And this only new code would do this, which means as a the committee, they said, as a developer, the onus is on you to mark this as wanting this new functionality, because you would never have had this in any of the old code. Anyway, that's kind of a bit of a history lesson. I think I got that in just before the Twitch break. I mean, that's my understanding of it anyway. Like I said, I'm not a C++ expert. That is my understanding of it. So that's why we need this. There's actually one more thing we want to do, which I think is kind of interesting. So I'm just going to wait for the Twitch break to add because it's a little bit more talky. But I also think it's interesting. Thanks. Nailed it. It's just one of those, like, it's just a weird oddity of the language, and it's just like I get it. Like, C++'s big thing is not breaking backwards compatibility, or at least avoiding it where possible. So I could understand, like, you know, if you're relying on this implicit cast, and all of a sudden you're matching this brand new template function that's been added, you know, just by the act of upgrading your compiler, your code could suddenly change behavior. It's not great. No, I'm only streaming on Twitch and YouTube. It's about all I can keep up with, I think. Okay, so the other thing, so basically what we can do now is we can pass in this hash function here. It's not the full story. Obviously not, because there's one more thing we have to worry about, and that's this key equal. So this is templated on a functor, I guess, or function object. But how do you compare keys? Okay, so again, by default, it says key is equal to stud equal to key, and stud equal to key says, here's the possible implementation. It will return if this is how it will check if the key is equal, right? It will basically do left hand side equals right hand side, and stud string has an equality operator, as you would expect, so it will basically do string equals string. Notice the key part here is that the two arguments are both of the same type, t, which will be in this case our key, which will be our stud string. So again, if I pass the string view in, by the time it gets to this code and say this is the stud string and this is the string view, it'll be like, oh, I'm going to have to do an implicit cast, which is potentially a memory allocation, blah, 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 blah. In C++ 14, they introduced this, where it's void. Now this is interesting. If you use this, notice it has the equality operator here, but notice it allows you to specify a different type. So these two types can be different, which means if this is string and this is stud string view, it will call the equality operator for string and string view, which just runs through the characters and doesn't do an allocation. And breathe. So we can simply just do stud equal to with empty template arguments, which will default to void, and then that will get us the overload. So all this horror, all this misery, it should allow us to have a slightly more efficient hash table, which everyone has agreed is not efficient anyway, because the C++ standard says it shouldn't be. Well, prohibits certain optimizations. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. And what was the point of all this? Oh yeah, I wanted to... Christ. I wanted to use it here, didn't I? So what's that? What do we call that? String map? I guess technically it's a string unordered map. I guess technically. What's the next thing you're making our game? Well, after we finish doing all the refactoring, we need to do model loading, and then we need to do, I really want to do like an ImGui debug layer, and then after that, I think we can start pulling in assets and having a play around with maybe a simple game loop. Again, it's going to be something simple, but I think we'll have enough then to actually kind of think about, start doing some damage with something. Okay, fine. So let's get rid of all this, and we should be able to do a string map. Part of me thinks I really should call that string unordered map. Oh well, what are you going to do? My first programming language, someone asked this earlier, and I think you asked this earlier because it's exactly the same question, but I'll answer it again, was PHP, and from there I went to anything that wasn't PHP. PHP 4 to be precise. Okay, now that I've waffled around C++ for a little bit, let's actually do something practical. So this should all still work. This will pass in the name. This will do the heterogeneous lookup, so it won't, and heterogeneous find, so it won't do any extra casting. It won't do any extra allocations. And yeah, but we actually need to stick these in, don't we? So we've got the name. do I now need to call get uniform location? I think I do. So let's do const auto location equals gl get uniform location, and that takes the name, the handle, and then the name.cstr. So that should be fine, and then we should be able to just do uniforms location. Sorry, nope. Name equals location. That should be that, and then we should be able to just pop that in there. I like to initialize. I like to default initialize all my, like, just make sure they're all default initialized. Won't have to in this case because the constructor does a sensible thing, but I just, for my own sanity, I like to do it. String hash map is a compromise. The whole thing feels like a compromise at this point. I just can't be able to go and rename it. The only thing that's putting me off is I just cannot be able to go and rename the file. So it's going to stay like that. Okay, so we can check that we've got the uniform, set that, and then because we're setting a matrix, we can then do, I don't know, is it GL uniform matrix for FV. I forget the arguments for this, I literally just had them up. So this will be the returns a pair, right? So uniform second, or is it arrow second? I can never remember which way it is with a stood pair. I can't remember if it overloads the arrow operator or not. 1 GL false data dot data, my favorite. Let's just see if this blends first. Nice, nice. I like it. What have I done wrong? This is going to be the embarrassing thing where I spent about 20 minutes waffling about heterogeneous lookup, and it turns out I can't get it to work. Cannot convert argument 1 from const char to string view. I mean, oh my goodness. Classic issue. I know. I think I've just seen what's wrong. I think it's just occurred to me what's wrong. Yes. Okay. Only because I do this every single time. You actually have to construct a hash object and call the function call operator on it, which makes sense because this is exactly what we've done here. We've created an object with the call operator. Sorry, that was it might seem like super quick debugging there, but that's just because I do it literally every time. Second is not a member. Okay. Yeah. Material, string map, material. Where were we? Material. Okay, we're getting there. Cannot convert argument 4 from span float to const float star. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, I don't like this at all. Surely I've not constructed myself into a situation where I have to do data. This just was not enough data. I think that's the problem. There was just not enough data. I can't abide by that. I'm gonna have to name it anything else. That just really upsets me. Even object is better at this point. Naming is hard. Nope, I agree with you. Yeah, indeed. Ew. Okay. Let's just wire that up into the renderer. So now we should be able to get rid of all this gubbins here. And do, actually no, let me just, because I've already forgotten what data I need to pass into it. To call data.data.data. So let's do material. Set use, it's gone. Model. And then entity model. Christ. I'm really regretting everything. All my live shows. Oh no, I don't need the first data, do I? Because it's I'll do that one internally. I'll save the call from having to do that. No viable conversion. Excuse me? So just the tooling not catching. Oh Christ. Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay, fine, we can fix that. Apparently that's the way I've chosen to do this. I think it's because I didn't want to expose this as a matrix, because why did I not want to expose this as a matrix? I think it's because I was viewing this as like an escape hatch out of the entity, like you're only ever gonna call this to get the data. In fact, I don't want even to consider any possibilities of copying or mutating the model outside. I think that's why I did it. So let's do stirred span const float, and that doesn't need to be a reference because it's a tiny object. Oh, voyage of discovery we're going on today. Matrix, oops, steady. Stirred span const float. Let's treat ourselves. Let's bring in span, and also let's bring in, I've seen I've used it, string view. Oh my goodness. Right, got there in the end. I think as well it's now incorrect. Yeah, I don't technically need to make that const because it's passed by value. And then go back to the renderer. And then, okay, cool. Yeah, I think you're right. I think passing in a span is now confusing because you've kind of broken that the conceptual notion of a matrix, and it's just an array of floats. So I think we might go back, and I think as part of this refactor we'll change that as well, and I think we'll just return a matrix from the model. I think that's actually, I think you're right. I think I prefer that. So let's go back to this. Let's go back to material. We're fixing it in the wrong point. Let's go back. Keep that as data. I think because I will return it as a get there in a minute. Oh goodness. Right. Yeah, I think we'll return it as a const reference to the model anyway, so it shouldn't matter. G fs c after, and we're going to do const matrix for ref. Okay, I think that's what I want. And then we get rid of the span entity. And then 37G. The theme is Dracula. Study. And now, okay, fine. I think we're nearly there to the first of about 10 refactors I wanted to do today, and we're nearly an hour in, but it's fine. Okay, so now we set uniform data. Sorry, we're going to call that. Obj, right? So obj.data will give us the span, and .data will give us the pointer. We could have, no, I don't like that. I was going to say we could have matrix have like a dot pointer, which gives us the pointer, but I don't ever want to return a raw pointer to an array without a size. Okay, that blends. Let's see if that runs still. See if it all looks roughly the same. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. That looks good to me. Still got the shiny boxes, still got the moving light, still got that. We need to do bitmaps at some point because I think that's what's causing the weird, like, grainy-ish looking issue in the distance. But, you know, one problem at a time. Okay, so that's that. The next one is textures, which requires a little bit more rethinking across the board because I basically just smashed textures into here with a single sampler, but technically this now needs to be I reckon this should be tuple of const texture to a const sampler. And then we can drop that. So this way each texture is effectively associated with a sampler object. Yeah, I've never done. I'll do anti-aliasing at some point. I haven't decided whether I'll probably just enable MSAA to start with because it's easy, and then I'll implement FXAA later. Especially as there's a not definite but non-zero chance we might end up going to a deferred render anyway. So I might just do FXAA later. I've never done anisotropic filtering before. I don't think it's too complex, so I might give it a look. But I think just generating some bitmaps will get us quite a lot of the way there. So. Do I want to take this as a vector or do I want to take this as a span? I think I want to take this as a vector because I effectively want to take a copy of it anyway, and span is non-owning. But what I do want to do is return a span of stud tuple const sampler stars, right? Because I don't really like returning const refs to things. I think span is, I think it's semantically clearer. Like, you know, this is definitely a non-owning view over something. And also, then it doesn't really matter what we back it by. If we needed to go to a deck or something, well, I suppose it's contiguous, but you know, could be an array or something. Okay, fine. Let's fix up entity because this is going to be unhappy, as one would expect. Hash include tuple, hash include vector, hash include span, and span over here for good measure. The only reason I've not created it into struct is because I don't really know what to call it, and that's just being lazy on my part. Like, it's more than a sampled texture. Like, it should just be a struct, but I think I can't bother. I think it's fine for this. I'm happy to be honest. Sometimes I just don't know the answer. I think someone said it earlier. Naming things is hard. There's an argument there that I should take that by value instead of move it into the underlying type. It's going to be all auto after this anyway, so really we only really have to worry about it here. There's sampler, isn't it? But they're just pointers, right? So I'm not that fussed about someone mutates it. Also, if you just get a copy of this tuple, you can mutate it to your heart's content. It's not going to affect the internal ones, right? Because well, that should probably be const actually, shouldn't it? And then that actually prevents that problem. Is that right? Yeah. Then you don't have to worry about it because the actual span is over a const view of data. All right. Oh my goodness, right, I'm missing... Nope, why? I think there's a bit of confusion here around the access modifiers and stuff. Static means within the... static is a bit of an overloaded term anyway, but static in the context of a class variable means every class shares a single instance of that. So instantiating new classes will always reference, they'll always have the same reference to the same static variable. It has no access on the, it's an orthogonal concept. So the static modifier is orthogonal to the access modifier. You can have a private static. Someone said a typo. NCH95, yep, good spot, classic one. Right, why is this? Where have I gone wrong? Const, because it's now span, that's right. Okay, so that should all work. Something, type deduction becomes a span. Thank you. Okay, so if we go to main, it's going to be unhappy because this is obviously no longer going to be these text pointers, and I hated all this anyway. So what we're going to do is rename this to albedo text spec map, and then let's do const game, nope, yes, texture pointer, albedo text spec map. Textures, and then we'll do const auto I think actually there's a couple ways we can do this. I'm going to do it this way because we can use, I think we can use something nice. Is that the best way of doing it? Or do I want to just construct them in place? Because what I was thinking of doing is doing const auto text samp equals std views zip textures samplers std ranges to std vector. And then all I have to do is just keep updating these, and then this should just slot in here. Right. I think. Okay, that makes sense because I was expecting the renderer to fail. My main concern is where the main compiled. Building main texture undeclared identifier on line 62. If that's our biggest problem, then I'm okay with that. Blech. Okay, fine. Point two. I mean, I'll just construct them in place if I have to, but I really like using ranges where I can. Oh yeah, well done. Good. Oh, I think I nailed it. Nice. Nice. Okay, fine. So now we could. I do wonder if we could use like ranges iota to just generate these for the size of this, but I think we might be getting ahead of ourselves. I think I'm just polishing a turd at that point. Okay, so now our renderer is going to be unhappy, which is fine, which is what we expected, because now we want to go back to material, and I think what we want to do is let's get our renderer up and have a look at what we're doing. We basically want to auto bind texture, right? And we want to bind into it at a std uint32t index, and then we're going to want a const texture and a const sampler const void, right? So the material will basically say, because the material kind of internally when it's compiled its shaders, in theory knows, or at least the shader itself knows how many bind points it's got for textures. So this is going to be saying, all right, here's what goes at index 0, here's what goes at index 1, etc., etc. FNRT. Obviously, we're missing some headers. Obviously, don't need this. See if I can spell include right. Int. And then we're going to want excuse me, hash include texture, hash include sampler, right. That's enough to keep it happy. I'm deliberately using pointers for a lot of the internal objects because I want equality to be based on identity rather than value. You could argue whether that makes sense or not here, I don't know, but I've kind of, as I already got a pointer, and part of the contract of the thing that produces textures is it will never return a null, it will not return a null pointer. I'm kind of happy to keep it as pointers for this. It's a fair point. What I really should do is write a not null and then wrap it in that, so I kind of gets the, I suppose you could call it a reference wrapper, but like not, a non-nullable reference. No, but kind of like a reference wrapper. I probably should write a not null class, which means I can still have the pointer semantics, but guarantee it's not null. For me, I'm just going to keep it as that because that's what everything else is at the moment. So yeah, hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's kind of like internal code anyway. I mean, it's all internal code because I'm not producing a library or an engine. But yeah, I think it's a good point, and like people should definitely question what I'm doing. In fact, someone already has a great question. Why am I using this? I wanted to try out the trailing type return type syntax because I'd never used it before. I wanted to see if I liked it, and I thought I'm just going to commit and do the whole thing in it as a kind of like a trial by fire. So far, I don't hate it. I'm probably going to want to actually implement this, aren't I? I could just stare at it, but I don't think it's going to reify itself into any form of code. Unless I actually do something about it. Okay, get the renderer back up. I don't know why I closed it. So now we should be able to just take all this. Ooh, steady. I think this is still going to need a little bit of string manipulation to get this. But that's fine. We might be able to optimize that out later. Just trying to get the sort of use case of the code a little bit nicer. So this will be texture. I don't need the GL index because isn't that what I've passed? So I'm going to pass in, right? And then I'm in the material, so this will be handle. I don't need this because I will do 5. Oh, in fact, actually, what I can do is excuse me. I realize all the code just disappeared, and it's not really what anyone was expecting. We can do this with. We can overload this with int obj material, and then steady. Material. Okay, and then probably gonna have to repeat these 2 lines of code a bit, which is a little bit annoying. But what are you gonna do? I suppose I could put it behind a template, but it's not that, I'm not that fussed about it. And then this now becomes GL uniform 1i uniform second obj, and then I can just reuse this here and just do set uniform uniform name. I think that will implicitly convert to a string view, and then I can just do index. Nope, I can just do oh my goodness. Right. I think that's the same. Oh, it's not. This is just this entity is just a kind of generic name for a thing that owns the things needed to render. It's not an ECS, so any sort of ECS paradigm that you're familiar with doesn't apply here because I've not done that. I will have to static cast it at the point where when I pass it in, but I kind of want to communicate in terms of a vocabulary. I want my API to be in terms of like standard vocabulary types, like the fixed width integers. So any casting, I'll do on the way in. Oh, unless you mean I need to cast it there. That's a good point. We'll see. I'll let the compiler tell me whether I need to do it or not. So yeah, my entity is not hierarchical in any sense. Like there's no concept of like parents or anything like that. Not at the moment, anyway. We'll see how we get on. All right. Did I actually gut renderer and put the new code in? No. So this will be samp, and then in here we can do const auto. I suppose it doesn't need to be ref because they're only pointers anyway, but text sampler text samp, and then we can do we do material find texture index texture sampler, and then 76 goes away. Conversion from constants, yeah, well done. So that's 183. So that needs to be. I can't imagine we're going to have more than uint32 max textures. We'll go bindless textures if we get that many. Cool. Okay, so I think that is a lot cleaner. I'm going to treat myself, I think, to one more abstraction there, though, just because I think we can make that just a little bit nicer, and that can be find textures, and this will take a std span of constd tuple. I lied when I said we wouldn't have to declare this outside of the entity class. Okay. Probably missing some includes now. Hash include tuple include spam. I'm kind of figuring out a lot of this as I go along, by the way, so it's not some sort of like grand plan. I'm sort of just making improvements as I see them. Let's go bind, and then we're going to go there, and we're going to go material. Bring in the ranges. And now what we can do is we can go renderer, and then we can just take this nonsense. I can bring it in here. Not there. And then we can do. I probably should give this a name, shouldn't I? Span. I really hate the name text samps. really not a fan of that. So then we should be able to enumerate through text samps. All right, and then this should just work like I just like that. Okay, I think that's fine. Let's just go back to the renderer. Clean this up. So now we can just do material, bind textures, entity textures. Okay, was exactly where we started. It's not gonna be an interesting community post after this, I'm afraid, because I think it's going to largely just look the same. But I'm quite pleased with that. I think that's made the renderer code much tidier, and I'm much happier with how we're handling textures now. So integer range should do tuples, vertex shader should create normals, fragment shader should do buffer. I'm not sure if we're going to do that today. Colorful point diff, so I think the last, there's a couple of other smaller ones to do, but I think the main one is this. Although I'm wondering if we should just do this when we do model loading and actually do something interesting for the last hour or so. Triangles are, I mean, you can never really get rid of triangles. So I want to abstract out all this so that a mesh, this is dependency injected into the mesh, so you can through a mesh loader, right, which might load from a predefined set of data, or it might load it from a file, will produce this kind of array, collection of vertex data. I don't know if I want to do that. I was planning on doing that today, but I think that might be a little bit boring. It might make sense to do that when we do the thing. So what I'm tempted to do is actually let me have a quick look at something. Let's see if we can't, let's quickly comment this up, right? Oh, that's broken. So quick add string map and commit, add more OpenGL functions. And let's just do commit oh my goodness, where's all my code gone? Oh my god, right, okay. Try again. Right, refactor uniform setting. Okay. I'm tempted to see if we can't have a go at smashing in Dear ImGui today, just for something visual. I don't know, what are people's thoughts? More refactoring or a UI? Or two of obviously the most important parts of game dev. Yeah, thought it'd be the case. Yeah, I think it will be useful. Well, let's start today. We'll see how far we get. I think I've already sort of achieved a fair amount of what I wanted to do today, which was just like boilerplate refactoring, which I appreciate is not maybe the most exciting. So let's see if we can get something interesting. So if anyone doesn't know, right, because like, what is this guy talking about? Dear ImGui is like the graphical user interface that everyone throws into their game. It is a bloat-free graphical user interface for C++ with minimal dependencies. It looks like this, or like this, or like this. It is a it is literally does what it says on the tin. It's like dependency free thing you can kind of just throw in. The nice thing about Dear ImGui is that it kind of it has several backends, and it will basically emit draw commands for you of whichever backend you're using. So we can basically say, oh, I'm using OpenGL, and it'd be like, right, okay, here's like the VAOs and VBOs, and you can just slot that into your rendering pipeline. It also supports Vulkan and Metal and DirectX and all that sort of stuff. So how do we build this? It hasn't got a CMake, so I think because it hasn't got a CMake, I think we might not be able to use fetch contents because it won't really know what to do with it. I think we might just have to build this ourselves. Let me just check. I have played around with this before, so I've got a kind of a semi idea about what to do. I'm just checking some notes I made on this before. Tools. Or did I just fetch content it? Okay, I did fetch content it before. Okay, let's give it a go. Let's go CMake. And let's go fetch content declare ImGui git repository. Do they do releases? Do they do tags? They do. Exciting. Okay. Git tag version 1.91.6. And then we'll do fetch content make available ImGui. Let's just see if that works. Let's do fetch content. What am I doing wrong? It's all gone. It's all gone. Constnet. Okay, if I say that. Right, while that sits there and does absolutely nothing. Okay, cool. So L depths. Okay, L ImGui source. Yes, I think Haran is right. I will have to add a target for this, but that's fine. I guess do that here. I might just. I'm not a CMake expert. I think I can just like go here. ImGui source and then I don't know, is it ImGui.cpp? I probably actually technically want to build it as I guess like a static library and link it in so I can have different compiler flags, right? Yeah, okay, well that's to be expected because I'm going to need. Let's have a quick look at where are all the CP files. So I'm just going to copy these from another project I did. Just Okay, well, builds on my machine. Okay, so that builds and runs. So let's go to the examples, because this basically tells you how to integrate it into various things. So this is what's nice about ImGui is like if you're doing this properly, as you should, and you're using SDL or GFL or something like that, it'd be like, okay, I understand all those. What I want is Win32 OpenGL. This is basically how to do it raw. Also has this, my absolute favorite comment, which is this is provided for completeness. However, it is strongly recommended that you use SGL or GLFW. I also strongly recommend you do that, but here we are. So I'm just basically going to start hammering out some of this code and seeing how we get to. So I think let's do eSource, let's do debug UI.h. And then do class debug UI. Let's just check we can bring in the correct header file. So this is going to want hash include ImGui.h and then public and then private, and then I'm going to want a IO object. Yeah, so let's go ImGui IO. No, I don't even need that actually. It's fine. I'm making. Sorry. Oh, I'll get there in a minute. What I do need though is a debug UI and a debug UI. No, so I mean, I've agreed. I have somewhat discarded what you said. I just want to get something going, and then, as my usual approach is, get something working, and then go back and refactor it later. Like I just want to. I'm only planning on streaming for like another 30 to 45 minutes, maybe another hour if we get pretty close. I just want to kind of get this up and running, and then we can kind of tidy it up later. Okay, right. So we've got those, and then I think. Memory serves, we're going to need some sort of like auto render const void. Okay, vs source. Like we must clean up the source directory at some point. It's an absolute mess. It's just every file in there with like absolutely no structure. Nope. Don't want that at all. Include debug UI, and then in here let's also include whatever I need, which is ImGui.h. And then debug UI, and then debug UI. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just check that this builds. Yeah, I do not like this at all. I will change this. I think for the moment, it's kind of better the devil you know. Make some progress. You're right. I mean, I do need it. We don't actually need it to compile because we won't actually be calling it, so it won't invoke a linker error. But yeah, I just want to check we've got the build set up first, and then we'll go and add that in a second. yeah, I haven't got the header files set up. The includes, that's fine. I think we had to do something similar for, here we go, here. So what's this one going to be? This one's going to be ImGui source. Hey, see? Glad you're here. It only throws an error if you try and link against it, and it'll be like, if you only try and call it, because then it'll get to the link stage and be like, huh, you've defined this thing in the header file, because the code, each translation unit will see it in the header file and be like, oh, I know this thing is going to exist at some point, I'll let the link figure it out, and then only if you ever call it, it'll get to the point and be like, the link will be like, huh, what are you talking about? Okay, right. But we will add it now anyway, to avoid any doubt. Auto debug UI render const void. Nope, that's not a function. Right, okay, so let's copy and paste some code from the internet and hope it all works. That's cheating. I mean, this is just like debug code. I'm not too fussed about it. I'm going to need some bits and pieces from windows.h. I'm going to need a window handle. I'm going to need a window handle. I'm going to need a ImGui style dark colors, obviously. And then an ImGui right, I think I need to include a specific implementation file now, which might mean I also need to change the build system. ImGui, yeah, where's that gone? I need backends, ImGui impl OpenGL 3.h and ImGui impl win32.h, I think, and then I should be able to go include from here backends. Here we go. Look at all these. Look at them all. Win32, and then whoa. OpenGL 3. If you have the chance before you end the stream, I'd appreciate if you answer my question. What was your question? Can you answer it again? Because I've lost it. Apologies. I do try and answer it. I do try and answer everything I see, but sometimes I don't see them, so apologies. Yeah, you can include Windows H file. It's fine. I trust the preprocessor to sort that out. I'd rather include everything I use at the point I use it, rather than relying on transitive includes. Okay, right, where were we? So now we want to do ImGui impl win32 init for OpenGL. That will take our window. And then we need to do ImGui. Hello, glad you're here. Impl OpenGL init. Alright, so this is just telling ImGui what it's going to be doing, how it's going to be doing it. Then in the destructor at the end we go ImGui impl OpenGL shutdown. I assume this is in the reverse order that you call it in. GUI impl win32. I can't see it. Oh god. Shutdown. And then Is anyone fed up with me saying ImGui yet? Because I am fed up of saying it. Destroy context. Yes, I've already Dino Minmax is already defined because in fact you can see it there. I've worked in a couple of industries. I don't like to dox myself, so I don't talk too much about specifics, but I've worked across a variety of industries, cybersecurity, finance, etc. So I've had a chance to see lots of interesting code written by some very smart people. Okay, so now we need to do ImGui impl nope. What am I doing? That's not namespaced. OpenGL new frame. I've never worked in the games industry though, which is why if anyone for those of you out there who I do know working here, you're probably shouting at your monitor that I'm doing it wrong, but I'm just figuring a lot of this out as I go along. I'm gonna abstract the absolute shit out of a lot of this because this is a massive pain. When we come to actually write our own, I just want to get the demo one working. Why is that namespaced but the other stuff isn't? And then there's a magical ImGui show demo window. True. And that will basically give us a whole load of widgets to start with, which will give us a chance to actually check it's working, and then we can kind of refine it from there. And then ImGui render. Yes, Daniel, if you repeat your question, I can answer it. Alas, I do not have, well, I can say the patience, but I'm not going to scroll up and find it because I'm halfway through doing something. Again, I don't want to miss the other chat, so if you can just repeat it, I'll answer it. So I'm going to render that, and then I need this absolutely horrific ImGui impl OpenGL 3 render draw data ImGui get draw data. Do I need to end any of these frames? I don't think I do, just because of the way it works statefully. I mean, that should just work, right? Yeah, game development's interesting. It does have overlap with other industries because it's in the sense that it's latency sensitive. You care very much about performance, or quite often care about performance. So it has some interesting caveats around it, which is why one of the reasons I think there are interesting problems in game dev. Right, let's Let's just check this blends. Nope. Oh, if I could give it a pointer. My goodness. Auto show demo equals true. True. Show demo. Nailed it. Okay, does this blend? I'm going to have to change the window class to expose the handle, I think. I don't think I can currently get that out. But who knows? Maybe you can. Ugh. I have. So this is the linker error now, right? So this is saying you've called a function, but you've not told me where it lives. Why is that? Oh, because I'm... what a fool. Okay, right. Quick detour via the window class to add a auto native handle const Hund. Sure, anyway, I don't know why that's complaining. And native handle will have a window, and this will return. Oh Christ, what do I call it? Handle? Window? Window. Okay, thanks. Glad someone's paying attention. I'm going to get that on a t-shirt and make a fortune. Let's have a think about this. Let's slap in... let's put it here. Game debug UI, and into that we'll const auto debug UI equals game debug UI window native handle. Native handle. I do think it would be funny to make a t-shirt which has hash include misspelled on it with like extra spaces in it. We'll render the scene, and then after we do the rendering, we will render on top of it the debug UI dot render. Let's see if that works. Okay. Let's see if this blends, and then we'll take a poll on whether we think this is just going to work first time. Okay, so do we think we have an incredible UI full of lots of knobs and levers and gadgets and gizmos? Do we think it's going to work? Let's start this. Question mark. UI question mark? Yes. No. Start prediction. Got it. Where's my YouTube chat window? Let's start a poll. Start a poll. UI question mark? Yes. No. Start a poll. Let's go. I should really be pitting Twitch and YouTube against each other to see who is the most optimistic. Twitch is 100% yes. YouTube is 71% yes. There are some doubters out there, but there are more of you, so I'll give you that. Okay. I have the answer. Oh, UI. Oh, yeah. It doesn't work, but it's definitely there. Oh, sorry. The poll was to see if we do this quite often. Is when I implement a new feature, is do we think we managed to get it to work on the first try or not? So I'll ask the audience. I'll ask you, chat, the people, whether we think we've done it or not. It's not perfect. I think some of the scaling is off and like the click events don't work. But I think we're gonna put that as a. I think I'll put that as a yes. Yeah, I know the events need to. We're not putting the click events through. I'm curious how it knows to get the mouse input though, because what I've had to do before is specifically add mouse events to it. Be like, hey, here's where the mouse is. So I'm very surprised it can get the mouse events out. And I feel like the size was slightly off as well, but let's see if we can wire up. Why is it not accepting click events? Like, I presume we'll have to post those into it. Okay, let me have a look. How's this going to work? How is this going to work? I want click events, right? So... do I need like a different config? So I'm currently taking a software design masters. You're done in 6 months, a code of 2 years, but don't feel ready to work in the field. Do you have any advice? I don't think anyone's ever really. So I work a lot with interns and graduates. It's kind of a large part of my role. I think there's always a massive gap between like university and like real world engineering, because at university, by and large, every project you've worked on, you've probably written every line of code of it yourself. Or you've worked in a small group, but you've probably seen every single line of code. The massive step up in industry is like day one, here's a 100,000 line code base. The team who wrote it there 5 years, no one really knows how this bit works. There's a whole new skill you have to learn about how to navigate a large code base that you've never seen before, and no one is prepared for that, and that is just practice. So I would say a lot of the skills you need to be effective as a programmer in industry, you really cannot learn until you can only really learn by doing. So I wouldn't stress about it, is what I'm saying. Like, you'll just pick it up as you go along. I think he's saying it's finished in 6 months, not he's going to complete it, not going to do it in 6 months. I can add mouse button event. I'm very surprised it can get the cursor though. That is very strange to me. Yes, I know. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Add mouse button event. I'm just trying to figure out what that actually looks like. Is it because I don't handle mouse buttons here? Interesting. Okay. Okay, right, well let's winproc get mouse button. So do I want, okay, right, let's case WM LB button up. And then let's do game log debug. By the way, this, yeah, don't look at this and think, oh, I can't do this, I'm not prepared for industry. Like, I've been programming C++ professionally for like a decade, and I'm still figuring a lot of this out as I go along myself. So, I'd hate for someone to look at one of these streams and be put off. Like, I'm hoping I can kind of show people that even having done this for a little while, I'm still figuring a lot of this up. I'm still figuring a lot of this out. All right, let's see if this works. We're gonna have to super quickly wire this all in, I think. Oh, it's nice, we've got a C++ committee member here. Nice. Which group are you part of? Okay, get left buttons. Right. So we have to speedrun this. Yeah, let me know what you work on. Yeah, I don't want to like dirty my window class with ImGui's code, so I will just process the events myself and then pass those on to the ImGui class because as you can imagine, in a release build we probably want to strip all that out anyway, so we want to kind of keep those two separate. Nice, cool. I'm looking forward to contracts. I'm excited. Okay. Event. Mouse event. Do I want a mouse event to have the key press? I don't think I do. I think I want source mouse button event.h. Mouse event. Okay. Mouse event. Oh my goodness! What? Come on! Right. Mouse button event. And then we're gonna have to have some enums. Oh, I'm just, for the interest of time, I'm gonna make this a little bit gross, and then we'll tidy it up next stream. So I just wanted to see if we can get it working first. Yes, there's no language jingoism here. Right tool for the right job. I will ban people if they. You are entitled to your opinion, but then so are other people. So if people are belittling others for like the tool they use at work, I will just ban people. Up, bool? Question mark. Auto up. I really hate this, but I really want to just try and get this done today, and then we'll a fun thing to do next time will be to tidy this up. I really don't like this code, and I'm not even gonna add this. Gonna do this another day. I just want to get something working. Oh no, because we're gonna need the position, aren't we? What for? Of course, we can't just have a mouse button up or down, can we? Okay, fine. It's actually not too bad because this is actually very similar to this now. I'm not sure if we can get all this done. Okay, mouse button event. These are no longer deltas though, right? So let's do delta and then get rid of all those. And then whatever, we'll do enum class state mouse button state. Up, down. And then here we'll have the mouse button state, and then a mouse button state, and then an auto state const, mouse button state. We'll save this for a rainy day. Sorry, I missed a few. I'm half keeping up with the chat because I'm really want to see if we can get this done. You know what? I'm even gonna just put it all in the header file just for simplicity. And format. Okay. Yeah, got it. Nailed it. Right. We're getting there. Event. Should include. Have I called it? Oh my goodness. Wow. What is that? I'm really not paying attention. We'll fix all this. We'll fix it live. This is real engineering. Okay, so we get that, get this, go back to window. Go to the top. We'll have whatever this hot mess is. I hate it. Okay, so use the following code to obtain the horizontal and vertical position. Okay, cool. So we should be able to stuff into our G event queue .emplace a game mouse button event get x l param, apparently according to the docs, if you can believe it, get y l param and then game mouse button state up. Could even work. It won't, but it could. It does not like that. Well, I mean, the doc's lying to me. It's just like, use this. Unless there's a weird header file I'm missing. Include Windows X.h. What fresh hell is that? I mean, I'll include anything once, but Windows X.h. Question mark indeed. Yeah, I'm not surprised it's not found. I've never heard of that file in my life. Yeah, okay, fine. That's fine. Apparently it exists. Who knew? Today I learned. Right. Steady. J static cast float. Nope. Where have I got wrong? I put my faith in the Microsoft Docs, you know. X memory variant. Okay, almost certainly means I've got the constructors wrong somewhere. Oh, it's because it's I know exactly why that is. Mouse button event. Hooray! I think we'll be tidying this up next stream. Like I said, I just would like to get it to work. Okay, right. So now we've got that. Allegedly, SF. Nope. Debug UI. Let's add a auto. I suppose I don't actually need the mouse position, do I? Because ImGui already knows where it is because it's rendering the cursor, right? Anyway, add mouse event. Let's do hash. No, what am I doing? Get there in a minute. Hash include. I really hate this. Absolutely detest it. Const mouse button event const void and debug UI. So somewhere under here we're going to do debug UI and then absolutely right, so it turns out I do after all that I do need the IO context, so that is a what type is that? An ImGui IO reference. Okay, if you say so. Who am I to argue? ImGui IO. IO. It's off to what we go. No, because it's a reference. Right, okay, fine. Whatever. Hate it. Hate it. Why is it not like that? Yeah, but I have to, yeah, I can give it as a reference, but I have to initialize it in the initializer list, don't I? Or can I? Sorry, it's late and I'm having an existential crisis with this. Okay, fine, thank you. I was having a funny 5 minutes then. For some reason, I thought you'd have to do it in the initializer list, right? Yeah, it must be initialized, undeclared. Yeah, you have to put it here, but I can't do it until I've created the context. Yeah, that's. So I think we will need that as a pointer, right? And then take this back. Am I missing const? Let's add more const. Right. It's funny how all that compiler error misery was just like, you could have been like, oh, if you make this const, this will go away. Add mouse button event. Oh, but this won't be a const method. Well, presumably that's like a thing. I can just call that where I want to get the IO context. Yeah, I assume this is global. No, yeah, okay. Yeah, here we go. Add, look at all these things we can add. Add mouse button event. Now, I believe the button is an integer, is 0 for left and 1 for right. And then this is a state. So this will be evt dot state equals it's true if it's down. So mouse button state down. Sure. I mean, why not? Could even work. Could even work. A legal qualified name in member declaration. What have I done? Oh. Okay, right, so the final piece of the puzzle, he says, is to go to main and wire this up. So else if a mouse button event, and we will forward this on to, we'll do debug io dot add mouse event, and this will be arg? No, arg? Probably should stood forward that, but actually no, because I haven't got the. I'd have to template lambda. I just who's got the time? Okay, let's see. No. Oh. what could be going on? I'm gonna have just a super quick play around with this. Otherwise, we'll fix this up next time. No, those are third party on it. So I want to do hash include log. Log debug debug UI mouse event. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be next stream is going to fix it. I'm going to have a quick look now just see if we can figure it out. So it is sending it. I think ImGui might not know the mouse position. I think it's reading from the cursor. That's a good question. Someone's saying, am I sending the up event? Let's just double check. That would be really silly. That would be really nice and easy. Let's see, do I get to? Oh, I'm not. I don't think I am. What a great spot. Oh, yes. Nice. In fact, I'm only sending the up event, which is funny. Great spot. Is this again that we finished? Like, that is the hope. I make zero promises, but that is really the hope. Come on. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Ah. Clicky, clicky, clicky. Oh, I didn't click and drag it. Look at that. All right. Where's ChatGPT? I really wanna try one thing quick. So will this work? Okay. One last thing. Get rid of that. Can I do float color 3? If ImGui GUI color picker 3 color. Yeah, I don't want to pollute my window class with ImGui stuff, so that's why I've chosen not to do it. Okay. So super quick. More rush code. Debug UI. Okay, so if can we do scene dot, I don't know why it doesn't like my scene. Also can't remember inside it. Scene dot point dot color dot r equals color naught GB 1 2, and then main, and then debug UI scene. What? Come on. It's so nearly done. What have I missed? Oh yeah, that's a good point. Save. Shh. I refuse to admit that was the issue again. Oh yes, look at that, Let's make it a nice pink, my favourite colour. Look at that. We need to unhook it so that when you're in the debug view, the camera doesn't move as well. But look at that. That's pretty cool. That is, I'm really pleased with that. That is, I did not think I'd get to do that today. Look at that. Right, I'm gonna leave that there up. That's. Oh, Rodney, 4 minutes ago, super chat. Thank you very much. Sorry, I didn't see that sooner. I was in the zone for this, but super appreciated. How kind. Yeah, I mean, we're going to tidy this up next stream. Yeah, that is my community post right there. Yeah, so next stream, what we're going to do is I think we'll tidy all this code up, and then we'll build out a proper debug UI that we can toggle off with F keys. That has, like, you know, stops the camera moving when you're using it. And then what we'll do is we'll wire up all of our inputs so far, I think, to the UI. So then we can start building out a scene. And then when we do model loading, eventually, we can just hook that straight away there. Cool. Okay. I've streamed slightly longer than I thought I would, but that's fine. I really wanted to get that done. I will comment this up. The one thing I will do off stream is I will just comment things up and push them up so they're safe. But yeah, hope everyone had a good time. Thank you very much for coming along. I will see you hopefully Sunday. Catch you then.